Have you ever wondered what happens to the soul after we pass away? This question has intrigued humanity for centuries, with numerous beliefs, theories, and even scientific studies attempting to uncover the mystery. Today, we dive into a perspective shared by Edgar Cayce, a renowned psychic who, in the early 20th century, provided insight into the afterlife, life beyond death, and the journey the soul embarks upon after the physical body dies. For many, death is seen as the end, a finality. However, Cayce's teachings challenge this perspective. According to him, death is just a transition, not an end but rather a continuation. His visions on the soul's journey through the afterlife were far from ordinary, providing a deeply spiritual and philosophical understanding of life after death. This brings us to an essential question: what happens in the first year after death? In this video, we will explore the profound revelations of Edgar Cayce regarding the soul's journey, particularly focusing on the crucial first year after passing. We will also analyze these insights, cross-reference them with modern spiritual perspectives, and draw conclusions that may shed new light on the topic of life after death. Cayce's philosophy on the afterlife revolves around a concept of the soul's progression. According to his readings, the soul's journey begins right at the moment of death and continues well beyond it. The soul is not simply drifting or lost; instead, it is said to undergo a process of healing, reflection, and eventual growth. In the first year after death, Cayce suggests that the soul undergoes what can be called a cleansing period. This period is vital, as it provides the soul an opportunity to reflect on its earthly life, its actions, and the lessons it has learned. This phase is not one of punishment but one of spiritual renewal, a chance for the soul to reconcile with its past before moving forward. What is particularly fascinating about Cayce's teachings is his view on the soul's ability to see its past life. According to Cayce, souls are not only aware of their actions but can also review their entire life, understanding the impact of their choices on themselves and others. It is as if the soul is looking at itself in a mirror, analyzing its growth or shortcomings. From a modern perspective, this aligns closely with theories of near-death experiences, NDEs, where individuals report seeing their life flash before their eyes or having an out-of-body experience. These accounts provide a compelling connection between Cayce's teachings and contemporary spiritual experiences. Cayce described the first year after death as a time for profound healing. The soul, much like a body that has suffered from illness, needs time to recover from the wounds of the physical world. This healing is not only emotional but spiritual as well. It is believed that the soul may encounter beings of light or guides who help it understand and heal from past mistakes, regrets, and emotional pain carried from the earthly life. One of the most profound aspects of Cayce's teachings is his assertion that the soul's healing process can take various forms, depending on the life it led. For souls that lived lives filled with love, kindness, and wisdom, the healing process might be quicker and smoother. However, for those who lived with unresolved emotional trauma or negative karma, the healing period may be more challenging. This idea of spiritual healing ties into the broader concept of karma. According to Cayce, every action, thought, and deed leaves an imprint on the soul. These imprints can carry over from one life to the next. In this sense, the first year after death is not only a time for healing but also a time to address and resolve lingering issues from previous incarnations. In Edgar Cayce's readings, spiritual guides and beings of light play a pivotal role in the afterlife process. As the soul begins its healing journey, these guides help provide comfort, understanding, and direction. They are often seen as benevolent figures who gently assist the soul in navigating its way through this reflective period. Cayce frequently mentioned that these spiritual guides are not the same as angels, though they share similarities. The guides are often spirits of people who have lived in the physical world before, possibly even ancestors or those with whom the soul shared a meaningful connection. They are beings who have advanced spiritually and now help other souls on their journey. Interestingly, these guides are not there to pass judgment. Instead, they act as compassionate mentors who help the soul understand its choices and their consequences. In the first year after death, this support is crucial because the soul may be overwhelmed by emotions or experiences from its earthly life. The guides assist in providing clarity, helping the soul process unresolved emotional or spiritual issues. This idea resonates with many modern spiritual practices and beliefs, where individuals seek guidance from their own spirit guides, or from meditation to find peace and clarity in their lives. Whether we see these guides as angels, ancestors, or other spiritual beings, they embody the idea that we are never truly alone, even in death. For those who are skeptical, it's worth considering how common it is for people, both in near-death experiences and through other spiritual practices, to report encounters with figures that bring them peace and understanding. Cayce's perspective offers a framework for understanding these experiences, suggesting that these encounters are not just products of the mind but are genuine spiritual interactions. One of the most profound aspects of Cayce's teachings is the concept of the life review. According to Cayce, after death, the soul reviews its entire life, not just in a linear fashion, but in a way that allows it to experience its actions from the perspectives of others. This review is not just about looking back at events, it's about understanding the impact of one's choices, both the positive and negative.
जीवन में शांति चाहते हैं तो दूसरों की शिकायतें करने से बेहतर है खुद.
This process of self-reflection is intended to help the soul grow and learn. However, the important aspect of this process is not about judgment but, in many cases, individuals experience a profound sense of peace and understanding, often describing how they are shown their actions from a perspective they had never considered before. Cayce stressed that the first year after death is a period of intense transition, a time for the soul to not only heal but also prepare for its next phase of existence. After the life review and the healing process, the soul begins to shift its focus from the earthly life to the spiritual journey ahead. During this transition, the soul is often guided to understand the broader scope of its spiritual purpose. According to Cayce, the soul begins to grasp the higher lessons it was meant to learn across multiple lifetimes, not just the one it has just left. This broader perspective helps the soul understand its place in the grand scheme of the universe and its ongoing journey of spiritual evolution. For some, this phase may involve further encounters with spiritual guides or beings of light. For others, it might be a time of deep contemplation and understanding. Regardless of the specific experience, the soul is slowly prepared for its next steps, whether that means reincarnation, joining a higher realm, or evolving into a different form of existence. This transition period aligns with modern spiritual teachings on the cycle of life, death, and rebirth. Whether through the lens of reincarnation or spiritual ascension, the idea that the soul moves through stages of growth is a common thread in many cultures and belief systems. Edgar Cayce's teachings on reincarnation provide a unique perspective on the soul's journey. According to his readings, reincarnation is not simply a random return to the physical realm, but rather a deliberate and purposeful return. The soul reincarnates in order to continue its growth and evolution, learning new lessons that it could not fully grasp in previous lifetimes. Cayce emphasized that reincarnation is a natural part of the soul's journey. After a soul has gone through its initial transition period, it begins to prepare for its next incarnation. This process is guided by the soul's spiritual needs and the lessons it must still learn. In this sense, reincarnation is not merely about returning to life but about fulfilling a deeper purpose. One of the most fascinating aspects of Cayce's perspective on reincarnation is the idea that the soul is not bound to a single lifetime. Instead, the soul cycles through multiple lives, each offering opportunities for growth, refinement, and spiritual development. This cycle is not determined by external forces but is an intrinsic part of the soul's journey. Cayce also noted that souls often choose their future lives before they are born. They may select their family, environment, and even the challenges they will face. This idea is aligned with the concept of pre-birth planning, where the soul makes conscious decisions about the lessons it wants to learn in the next incarnation. While many people are familiar with the concept of reincarnation, it's often seen as a philosophical or spiritual belief. Cayce's teachings, however, suggest that reincarnation is a scientific and spiritual reality, deeply rooted in the laws of the universe. He often referred to the process of reincarnation as a soul journey, one that continues throughout the soul's existence, gradually bringing it closer to a higher state of consciousness. A central theme in Cayce's readings is the concept of the higher self. The higher self is seen as the true essence of the soul, the part of us that is connected to divine wisdom and the universal consciousness. According to Cayce, the higher self is not bound by the limitations of the physical body or earthly desires. It is the aspect of the soul that remains aligned with its spiritual purpose. In the afterlife, the soul begins to reconnect with its higher self. This connection helps the soul understand its true purpose and the broader goals it aims to achieve across multiple lifetimes. Cayce believed that the soul's ultimate aim is to achieve a state of spiritual enlightenment, where it can fully align with the divine and understand its place in the grand scheme of the universe. The process of reconnecting with the higher self is not immediate. It takes time, and it requires the soul to shed the influences of the material world. The soul must work through any remaining emotional or spiritual blockages in order to fully awaken to its higher nature. This journey towards spiritual enlightenment is one of the core teachings of many spiritual traditions, including those that focus on soul development and ascension. Cayce's perspective on the higher self suggests that the afterlife is not just a time of reflection but also a time of spiritual awakening and alignment with one's true essence. Interestingly, this concept of the higher self is echoed in modern spiritual practices, such as meditation and mindfulness, where individuals seek to connect with their true nature and align with their spiritual purpose. For many, the idea of the higher self provides a sense of guidance and clarity in their everyday lives. Cayce taught that the actions we take in life directly impact our experience in the afterlife. This idea is not unique to his readings. It is also a common theme in many spiritual and religious traditions. What sets Cayce's perspective apart, however, is his emphasis on the idea that our actions are not merely judged after death. Instead, the consequences of our actions begin to shape the soul's journey even while we are still alive. In his readings, Cayce frequently spoke about the law of cause and effect, also known as karma. This law suggests that every action, thought, and intention has a corresponding effect, both in this life and in the afterlife. For Cayce, the soul's experience in the afterlife is directly influenced by how it lived its life on earth. The law of cause and effect is not just about punishment or reward. Instead, it's about growth. If the soul made poor choices or caused harm in previous lifetimes, it will face those consequences in the afterlife, not as a form of punishment, but as a way to learn from its mistakes. Similarly, if the soul has lived with compassion and wisdom, it will experience a more peaceful and enlightened transition. Cayce's teaching suggests that the ultimate goal of the soul is to transcend the cycle of cause and effect. The soul learns to rise above the limitations of earthly existence and to understand that true growth comes from love, service, and spiritual alignment. This idea parallels modern discussions about the law of attraction and the power of positive thinking, where the belief is that our thoughts and actions directly shape our reality.